Go away, bitch. Don't come over here. Karen, call the cops. Call the... It's all these kids in here. Call the cops, you dumb bitch. He coming around the window. Go that way, Cameron. Yeah, bitch, go away. Bye. Go away. Bye. Yep, bye. Bye. Keon out here.
But you definitely can't get in because you hear that? Kada! Kada! That shit just made me cry.
Yes, my whole
heart. You heard her scream, right?
Yes.
The she in here, like I said. I told you she the in here. You heard her scream. Y'all heard her scream, right?
Yes.
It sounded like she in the bottle.
Oh my God. I ain't said they heard it on the other side.
I heard a scream.
Because it made my whole heart stop.
Girl, that's why I've got tears coming out my fucking eyes right now. Kada! She's screaming help. Oh, fuck that. I'm about to go find a lock. Bitch, this shit gotta get popped.
I feel so guilty that I wasn't there to protect her.
A tragic update in the disappearance of 23-year-old Kada Scott. A DNA test confirms the body found Saturday morning in East Germantown belongs to 23-year-old Kada Scott.
October 4th, 2025. A 23-year-old nursing assistant finishes her shift at a senior care facility in Philadelphia. Her workplace is just 5 minutes from her front door, a short, familiar route she's traveled countless times. But on this night, Kada Scott never makes it home. For weeks leading up to her disappearance, Kada had confided in friends about something disturbing. An unknown person had been calling her repeatedly, harassing her, making her afraid. She'd shared her concerns with those close to her, expressing genuine fear about whoever was on the other end of those calls. Then, in the span of one evening, everything went silent. Her phone stopped responding. Her social media accounts went dark. Her Apple Watch, her iPad, every device that connected Kada to the world around her, ceased all activity at once. When her family realized she hadn't come home, panic set in. What followed was a 15-day search that gripped Philadelphia, a community desperate to bring Kada home safely. But on October 19th, that hope was shattered when authorities discovered her remains in a shallow grave behind an abandoned school in Germantown. The worst fears of her family and friends had been realized. This is the story of Kada Scott, a young woman whose life was stolen, whose warnings went unheeded until it was too late, and whose case reveals the deadly consequences when harassment and stalking are allowed to escalate.
21-year-old Keon King has an active protection from abuse order against him recently from a third young female in effect until 2027. That's in addition to the multiple kidnapping and related charges he's being held on $2.5 million bail on now in the disappearance of Kada Scott and the prior kidnapping case from earlier this year that was dismissed initially by the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. It was refiled this week after King's arrest in the Kada Scott case.
Karen, call the cops.
Philadelphia police sources tell me this video, posted on social media and shared widely following King's arrest this week, is part of the evidence in the first kidnapping case, dismissed by the DA's office, showing him walk up to the victim's window.
Keon out here.
Law enforcement sources tell me King was also a suspect in a prior rape case involving yet another woman, adding more to their belief that King has a pattern of very bad behavior with women.
Stay tuned as we reveal everything about this case. Drop a comment and let me know what you think about this story. Welcome to our channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Like and share this video to help raise awareness and spread caution. Let's begin
On Saturday, human remains were discovered, which investigators confirmed as Kada. Investigators had previously searched that vacant middle school, but returned after a tipster told them to go back. It's less than 3 miles from the senior living facility where Kada worked. And based on surveillance video, investigators say they believe she was killed shortly after leaving work the day she disappeared.
At 23 years old, Kada represented the kind of young person every community needs more of. She'd recently graduated, achieving a milestone that marked the beginning of what should have been a bright future. Her goals weren't abstract dreams. They were concrete plans backed by action and determination. She'd taken a position as a nursing assistant at the terrace at Chestnut Hill Senior Home, a job that required compassion, patience, and dedication. This wasn't just employment for Kada. It was a stepping stone. She was working to support her continued education, building towards something greater, while making a difference in the lives of elderly residents who depended on her care. The location of her workplace made what happened even more heartbreaking. 5 minutes. That's all the distance that separated her job from her home. A drive so brief that getting lost would be nearly impossible. A route so familiar that she could navigate it without thought. Yet somewhere along that short stretch of road, between clocking out and arriving home, Kada was intercepted by someone who had been watching her, waiting for the right moment to strike. Her family knew her routine. They understood her commitment to both her work and her future. When she didn't return that night, they knew immediately that something had gone terribly wrong. Kada wasn't the type to disappear without explanation. She wasn't someone who would abandon her responsibilities or leave loved ones worried without cause. And they were right to be afraid, because while they waited for news, while they held on to hope, Kada was already gone, taken by someone whose obsession with her had turned deadly.
This is day 12 of Kada not being with us. And as you know, each day the desperation grows.
Kada's father on Good Day Philadelphia for the second straight morning, hoping to keep the public on alert for her, brought his 2 brothers with him, hoping to reach the person who may know King and may know what happened after police say she got into King's car.
There's one person out there that is a good friend of his that, you know, has a heart. And you know, understands the severity of this and speaks up.
Dad Kevin Scott wearing his daughter's name on his hooded sweatshirt over his heart, hoping someone watching with a good heart will hear him.
Let my daughter go. Bring my daughter back home. She has loved ones, family, friends that all care about her. She has a bright head on the shoulders, a great future. You know, people make mistakes. If she's alive and breathing, you know, just get her back home, you know?
We want her home.
At the Criminal Justice Center, Steve Keeley, Fox 29 News.
October 4th, 2025, began like any other workday for Kada Scott. She prepared for her night shift at the terrace at Chestnut Hill Senior Home, a job she'd been committed to since graduation. Her family saw her leave. Her co-workers expected her arrival. Everything appeared routine. But something happened during that shift, something that made Kada leave work early. She left the senior home and got into her car. That 5-minute drive home should have been uneventful. She'd made that trip dozens of times before without incident. Her family was waiting. Her bed was waiting. Safety was waiting just minutes away. But Kada never arrived, because Kian King was waiting too. Simultaneously, every digital connection Kada had to the outside world went dead. Her phone stopped transmitting. Her iPad ceased all activity. Her Apple Watch, which tracks location and health data, went offline. These weren't devices running out of battery at the same time by coincidence. This was King deliberately cutting off Kada's ability to communicate, call for help, or be tracked by anyone who might notice her missing. What happened next will be revealed through investigation, but the basic facts paint a horrifying picture. King had prepared for this. The day before Kada's abduction, October 3rd, a black 2008 Hyundai Accent had been stolen. This vehicle would become King's tool for kidnapping, a stolen car that couldn't be traced back to him, at least not immediately. King used the stolen Hyundai to intercept Kada. Whether he forced her off the road, approached her under some pretense, or physically grabbed her from her own vehicle, the result was the same. Kada was taken against her will, removed from the path between work and home, transported to a location where no one would hear her scream. When hours passed without word from her, Kada's family knew something was catastrophically wrong. They contacted authorities. triggering a search that would consume the next 2 weeks.
Our evidence is pretty clear that she was in communication with an individual. That individual appears to meet her very shortly after she leaves her place of work. And very shortly after that, she disappears off of the footprint.
Investigators found Kada's car abandoned in a park area, not at her home, not at her workplace, not broken down on the side of the road between the two. The vehicle had been left in a location designed to confuse the investigation, to buy King time while he disposed of evidence and tried to cover his tracks.
At the point where the Hyundai Accent is on scene, on video at the rec center leading up to, all of the events we're talking about, the other car, the Toyota, is there as well. And we believe the people in these vehicles are working together. But in terms of who those people are and the level of their involvement, I'm not going to comment at this time.
But King had made mistakes. He'd left digital footprints. He'd communicated with Kada, and investigators would follow those breadcrumbs straight to him. Philadelphia police immediately classified Kada's disappearance as suspicious. The circumstances, the harassment, the abandoned car, the simultaneous device shutdown, all pointed toward foul play rather than a voluntary disappearance. Search teams mobilized across the city. Community members joined law enforcement in combing through neighborhoods, checking alleys, searching wooded areas. Missing person flyers began appearing throughout Philadelphia. Kada's face staring out from telephone poles and store windows, a young woman with her whole life ahead of her, now the subject of a desperate search. A deeper look into Kian King's background revealed a disturbing history. He had prior offenses related to stalking and kidnapping behavior. This wasn't someone with a clean record who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. King had demonstrated a pattern of targeting individuals, violating their autonomy, and committing acts that resulted in criminal charges. The connection between King's history and Kada's reported harassment became impossible to ignore. King had been the unknown caller terrorizing Kada in the weeks before her disappearance. His communication with her on October 4th was part of his plan to intercept her, to finally act on the obsession he'd been building through those harassing phone calls. Authorities arrested Kian King and initially charged him with kidnapping, stalking, and false imprisonment in relation to Kada Scott's disappearance. But at that point, they still didn't know where Kada was. King wasn't talking. The clock was ticking, and everyone feared the worst. Then came the discovery that changed everything.
Developing tonight, a tragic update on the case of Kada Scott, the Philadelphia medical examiner confirming today that it was her remains found behind a vacant school over the weekend.
On October 19th, 15 days after Kada vanished, authorities found her remains in a shallow grave behind Ada Lewis Middle School, an abandoned building near Aubrey Arboretum in Philadelphia's Germantown neighborhood. The location was remote enough to avoid immediate detection, but close enough to the city that King could have transported her there without drawing attention. The discovery confirmed what investigators had suspected, but what Kada's family had prayed wasn't true. She had been murdered. The young woman who'd worked so hard to build a future, who'd cared for elderly patients, who'd warned her friends about being stalked. She'd been killed and buried like trash behind an abandoned school. As the investigation deepened, more details emerged about the extent of King's planning and the possibility that he hadn't acted alone. Remember that stolen black Hyundai Accent from October 3rd? King had used that vehicle to abduct Kada. And on October 7th, 3 days after her murder, that car was deliberately set on fire to destroy evidence. The burned vehicle was then taken to a junkyard and compacted, an attempt to make sure no forensic evidence could connect King to the crime.
It's something that is actively being investigated. Obviously, they knew each other to some extent. We believe in terms of maybe there was some cell phone communication, obviously.
Investigators telling us tonight Kian King and Kada Scott had talked to each other before October 4th. That's the night they say King kidnapped the 23-year-old when she arrived for her overnight shift at a nursing home in Chestnut Hill. Investigative sources now saying they believe Scott was killed shortly after she vanished, maybe within 20 to 30 minutes.
We will be proceeding with homicide charges when we can very precisely confirm everything we need for probable cause, and we will do so as quickly as we can once we have confirmed what we need to establish probable cause.
We're now learning on October 3rd, the day before Scott disappeared, someone stole a car from Sprague Street near East Mount Airy. Investigators say that car would then stay at the recreation center next to the former middle school where they found Scott's body Saturday. That vehicle, according to police, was there for about a day and a half before being intentionally burned in an alley near 74th Avenue on October 7th. Today, we still saw broken glass and charred vehicle remains at the scene.
Do you believe Mr. King stole that car, or did somebody else steal that car and he happened to just be in it?
I don't want to comment about what I believe happened. All I can say at this point is what the evidence that we have.
As for the other car found at a condo complex in East Falls last week, detectives say that vehicle was also at the recreation center the days after Scott went missing.
At this point, we do have reason to believe that other people may have been involved after the fact, but in terms of who those people are and the level of their involvement, I'm not going to comment at this time.
Today, the Scott family released a statement through the DA's office saying, in part, "Our hearts are broken beyond measure." Going on to add, Kada was deeply loved. Her light, kindness, and beautiful spirit will forever remain in our hearts.
Kada Scott mattered. Her life matters.
Additional charges followed King's initial arrest: arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, tampering with evidence. Each charge represented another piece of the prosecution's case, another nail in the coffin for King's defense. But most significantly, authorities revealed they believe at least one other person was involved in Kada's abduction and murder. Someone helped King. Someone knew what he'd done, and investigators are working to identify and charge that accomplice. King also had connections to a 1999 metallic gold Toyota Camry, another vehicle that authorities asked the public to help locate. Whether this car played a role in the surveillance of Kada before her abduction or was used in other aspects of King's criminal activity remains part of the ongoing investigation. The case against Kian King isn't just built on circumstantial evidence. His history of stalking, his communication with Kada on the night she died, the stolen vehicle used in her abduction, the burned and compacted car destroyed to hide evidence, the location of her body. All of it points to a young man who planned, executed, and tried to cover up the murder of a 23-year-old woman whose only crime was existing in his world.
Provide you an update in terms of an individual that is currently in custody for his involvement in the disappearance of Ms. Scott. However, still a lot of work needs to be done. And so just want to make that very clear as to why we are here and the information that you will receive. Essentially letting you know how we have gotten here. But more so the public's help that we need right now. The public has been very, very helpful thus far in providing a lot of information, which the investigators have been able to track down a lot of the leads, which has helped us get to this point here. But as I said, a lot of work still to be done. The number one priority is locating Ms. Scott. I just want to make that very clear. And so while we are at this stage of this now, that's our priority. And so we will ask for your help in locating this vehicle, which you'll get a little more information. It's a 1999 metallic gold Toyota Camry with a Pennsylvania tag of MSX0797. But we need to know where this car is. We need to find this car. Making this very clear, it's not to just focus on the northwest section of the city of Philadelphia. This car has traversed through the entire city. And so I want that to be clear, that every neighborhood, every person listening to this, whether you're in North Philly, South Philly, Southwest, Northwest, please open your eyes and see if you locate this car or if you have seen this car. Please contact us and give us that information. The second part of this is the individual that Deputy Commissioner Venor will provide his information very shortly. Want folks to understand this person has a little bit of a pattern of this type of history. And so we want to encourage anyone that may have been involved with this individual, anyone that may know this individual, please, at this point in time, make that phone call. Feel comfortable enough to call us and let us know if you have any information regarding this person, regarding any interaction you've had with this individual. If you have been a victim of any crime regarding this individual, I want you to understand now is the time to make that phone call and let us know. Give us that information so that we can continue on. Again, just want to make it very clear that a lot of work has been done, starting off with Northwest detective division, and then this case shifting over to homicide, making it very clear that the case was shifted to homicide because we have the most experienced investigators in our homicide unit. They have the most experience dealing with all types of investigations. They also have the most resources available to them. And so we have the hopes that we are still treating this as if Ms. Scott is still alive, and that's why we want the public's help in trying to locate every single piece of this. But I just wanted to make that clear because I know there's been some reports once it shifted over to homicide, folks not understanding the why. And so that's the reason behind that. At this point in time, again, appreciate the help that we've gotten. I want to turn everything over to Deputy Venora to go into more details about the individual that has been taken into custody and some other pertinent facts of the investigation.
All right, good morning. Just to reiterate what the Commissioner Stanford said, we've been investigating this since Saturday, October 4th in the evening, the last time Kada Scott was seen at her place of work up in Mount Airy area. Our evidence that we followed, and we did involve a lot of investigators on this, led us to several places, that digital evidence, and as everybody knows, we searched a very large area up in the Arboretum, and we came up really with negative results. After that time, we asked the Homicide Division, the FBI Violent Crime Task Force to enter into the investigation to assist. All right, and we continued our search trying to track Ms. Scott's whereabouts along with anybody she may have encountered during that time. Our evidence is pretty clear that she was in communication with an individual. That individual appears to meet her very shortly after she leaves her place of work, and very shortly after that, she disappears off of the footprint. We have a lot of digital evidence, video and other, which provides us with this individual by the name of Keon, K-E-O-N, King, K-I-N-G. We believe this individual, and through our evidence, we were able to charge this individual. The district attorney was able to charge the individual. You'll hear from them shortly with kidnapping at this point. It's very important to know we're not done our investigation. We need to find Ms. Scott, figure out where she is, or what may have happened to her to cause her to completely disappear from all her items, her phone, her Instagram, social media sites, and everywhere else, work. She left her car at that location. So it's very important that this individual, who does have prior history of being arrested, especially for this very same thing, this year was charged with kidnapping another female acquaintance. That case was dismissed from court, and I'll explain it. It's going to be refiled now as we're going to move forward to attempt. So he's being really charged with 2 cases today of kidnapping, and in that case it involves assaults that occurred during the kidnapping. So this is a pattern of behavior. That vehicle that you've seen, the Toyota Camry, was his vehicle. All right, that vehicle's not recovered. All right, some of the stuff he did as we attempted to find him was he got rid of things like the car, the phone. We're not able to find things that he was using. He had an address in Southwest Philadelphia. He had other addresses that it looks like he's not using anymore. So he attempted to elude us for some time. He did come in last night. He's here being processed, but there's a lot of questions we still have. So we're asking the public's help. We need it more than ever. This car, you'll see a better picture of it. We sent it to you digitally. It's a gold-colored Camry, 1999. It has heavy front-end damage on the left front bumper. All right, that's being described that way several times. We know it's been in the Mount Airy area. We have photos of it in Center City. We have pictures of it in Grace Ferry area and in Southwest Philadelphia. So it's possible that it could be anywhere. It could be outside the city. So if somebody sees this, thinks they know where this car is, it's very possible it doesn't have this tag on it anymore. So if you see a car like it, we're urging you to call police, have it investigated. Any information on this, you can call our tip line, 215-686-TIPS, 8477, or the Homicide Division directly and give that information. All right, I'm going to turn things over to ADA Teslowski, who could speak a little more about the charges and potentially other charges that he's facing.
Thank you. My name is Ashley Tazlowski. I am an assistant district attorney in the homicide unit. I became involved in this investigation last week when the investigation was turned over to the homicide unit. So I became the assigned ADA when detectives Rob Daly and Joe Kremen took over the case. The first thing I want to say is that PPD and our federal partners and Detective Daly and Detective Kremen have done an amazing job to get us where we are. Today I'm joined by Tracy Washington from our Victim Services Unit and also Bob Listenby, the first assistant of our office. What I can confirm is that our office, as of the early morning hours into the early morning hours this morning, did charge this individual with charges, the lead charge being kidnapping. You know, as we've said multiple times at this point, we do not know where Ms. Scott is. So at this point, our lead charge is kidnapping. What we're able to confirm and what I was able to charge based on is what we know, which has already been said, which is that this person, Mr. King, is the last person we believe to be in contact with her, and that he was in contact with her when she went offline, meaning her phone, everything. So at this point, the investigation has led us here, and we're able to charge him with kidnapping, recklessly endangering another person, use of a communication facility, meaning his phone. We were able to track his phone and communications on his phone. He's being processed as we speak. When I picked up this investigation, one of the things that our office also learned was that he did have a previous case. It was a 2025 case for very similar conduct, strangulation and kidnapping. That case had been withdrawn by our office based on the witness failing to appear at court. I pulled that file, and after an yesterday, he was served on that as a part of our conversation with him. Him being here and being processed on the new charges, he was served for that, so he will also be facing a preliminary hearing on that previous kidnapping case as well. So at this point, he will have 2 open kidnapping cases that will face preliminary hearings in the coming months.
I don't know if there's any questions.
For the district attorney's office, how many times does a defendant, does the case appear before a judge that it's then withdrawn? I mean, how many times does this matter come before a judge and the decision then gets made is withdrawn?
It depends. In this specific case, what I could tell you is that after the first listing, when the victim failed to appear, the case was marked what I'll call must be tried, which is a little bit of a court lingo, but basically saying if it's not tried by the next listing, it'll either be dismissed or withdrawn. It was marked that way after the first listing when she didn't appear in court, and then at the second listing when, again, we didn't have the witness or the victim in court, it was at that point withdrawn given the previous marking.
Do you have his date of birth?
I do not, but I'm sure we can get that.
Yeah, I'll get it.
The video of the vehicle in the area of the hospital, legally that's the vehicle that...
This vehicle has been traveling all over the city. So we do believe this video is involved in what we're talking about, and we have it all over the city in concert with how he's moving as well. Yep, we have the date of birth for you. It is 5/6/2004. So 5/6/2004.
Do you guys know how the two knew each other, how long it had been, and is this the specific individual that Kada had expressed concern about, specifically harassment?
I'm not willing to comment on that at this time. That's still very much being investigated in terms of their relationship and how long they knew each other.
So the significance of the car right now, the urgency, if you will, can you address why we believe people need to find this car?
Sure, I can certainly comment on that, or if you want to. I mean, at this point, we believe he is connected to this vehicle. We also believe she may have been in that vehicle.
As far as the other case, the kidnapping case,
Yes.
can you just explain some of the circumstances surrounding that case? Brief as you need.
Sure. That case is an individual that was known to him, a domestic in nature. And what I can say is the allegations in that case are that he kidnapped a woman in front of her house, threw her in her car, assaulted her, and then eventually let her out of the car. There is some video evidence, I believe, that'll be played at the preliminary hearing, but that was domestic in nature.
And do you have a time or about when that happened?
It was this year in 2025. The case was withdrawn in May, so it predates that by a little bit.
What was the last location of the pharmacy?
I don't know if we have exactly the last location, but what I can say is through our investigation, it was tracked all over the city, in multiple areas of the city in multiple different time periods throughout, the entire length of this investigation.
When police were at an address in Southwest Philadelphia last Thursday night, was that one of his addresses?
It was one of the addresses connected to this investigation.
Do you believe anyone else might be helping King or possibly driving that vehicle for him?
In terms of other people being involved, I don't have comment on that at this time. It's still very much being investigated. There have been several phone numbers involved that we've been tracking, but all roads at this point lead to him, and so that's what we're hoping leads us to her.
After she arrives at work at 10 o'clock, how big is the time window that she actually remains at work before
Yeah.
She's not there long at all. She gets there maybe just before 10, and right after she's out, maybe 20 minutes. That's what I'm told.
Are they communicating at this point?
We believe they are, yeah.
Do you know how the two knew each other?
I don't. I don't know their relationship. Obviously, they had a connection. They're going back and forth, and they've known each other for a short time, but I don't know how long.
Do you know if she was willingly meeting him? Or...
I don't know. I don't know yet.
Shortly after, Kada Scott's body was found on October 19, 2025, buried in a shallow grave behind an abandoned school in Germantown. 15 days of desperate searching ended with the worst possible outcome. A young woman murdered, her future stolen, her family's worst nightmare confirmed. Kian King sits in custody facing multiple charges: kidnapping, stalking, false imprisonment, arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, and tamper with evidence. The legal process will unfold over the coming months as prosecutors build their case, and King's defense team attempts to counter the mountain of evidence against him. But regardless of how the trial proceeds, one fact remains unchanged. Kada Scott is dead, and Kian King is responsible. Authorities continue investigating the identity of King's accomplice or accomplices. Someone helped him. Someone knew what he'd done. And that person needs to be identified, arrested, and held accountable. If you have any information about who might have assisted Kian King, contact Philadelphia police immediately. Coming forward now could mean the difference between prosecution and escape for someone who participated in Kada's murder. The case also serves as a reminder that justice and closure aren't the same thing. King's arrest and eventual conviction won't bring Kada back. It won't heal her family's grief or erase the trauma of those 15 days when they didn't know if she was alive or dead. It won't restore the years of life that were stolen from her or fulfill the potential she carried. But accountability matters. Ensuring that King spend the rest of his life behind bars matters. Making sure his accomplices face consequences matters. Using Kada's story to educate others about stalking and harassment matters. Creating change in how we protect potential victims matters. Hit that subscribe button to stay updated on Kian King's prosecution and trial. As the case moves through the legal system, we'll continue covering developments like this video to help spread awareness about stalking, harassment, and the deadly consequences when these behaviors aren't taken seriously. The algorithm can push this story to people who need to hear it, who might recognize warning signs in their own lives or the lives of people they care about. Kada Scott was 23 years old. She was a nursing assistant working to support her education. She was someone's daughter, someone's friend, someone's co-worker. She had dreams that will never be realized, goals that will never be achieved, years of life that were stolen from her by a man who decided his obsession mattered more than her existence. She warned people she was being harassed and stalked. She did everything she could to protect herself. And it wasn't enough, not because Kada failed, but because the systems meant to protect people like her failed first. Remember her name. Remember her story. And the next time someone tells you they're being stalked, they're receiving harassing calls, they're afraid of someone who won't leave them alone. Believe them. Help them. Because the difference between someone who survives and someone who becomes another true crime story can be as simple as taking their fears seriously before it's too late. Rest in peace, Kada Scott. Your life mattered. Your dreams mattered. And your story will help protect others from suffering the same fate. Thank you for being part of this community, where we believe every victim deserves justice, and every story deserves to be told with the dignity and respect it requires. If you have any information about Kada Scott's murder or Kian King's accomplices, Contact the Philadelphia Police Department immediately